Hey everyone, welcome back to another segment of AWS On Air. We are live in Anaheim, California at the AWS Inforce Summit for 2023. I'm one of your hosts. My name is Jeff Marushak. I am a Senior Solutions Architect for the DoD Air Force team, and I'm joined by my partner in crime, AM.
What crime? What crime are we partners in?
It's a saying. It's kind of like.
Oh, I thought we were going to commit a crime. Okay, I'm AM Grabelny. I'm a developer advocate at AWS, not a criminal. So I got that going for me. We got two guests joining us. How's it going over here? We're going to be talking well-architected today, right?
Yep.
Let's start with intros.
Well, I'm Samir Kopul. I lead product and engineering for Well-Architected.
Okay.
I'm Alana Morris. I'm the Senior Product Manager for the Well-Architected tool.
Great. So as a solutions architect, we perform well-architected reviews with our customers, walk our customers through it, instruct our customers on maybe even going through the tool themselves without the help of AWS. AWS partners, there are some partner competencies to help customers through it. The customers have a lot of options. The one thing so far in every one of my experiences is that it's a pretty lengthy process, and we find the best results happen when a large number of decision makers are involved: security, database, storage, IT, the business. So that all being said, it can be a long process, but it sounds like this new feature we're here to talk about is going to help the customer shorten that a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah. So like you said, the well-architected framework and tool cover the six pillars of the well-architected framework, right? And so that's a lot of questions to go through, right?
And not to mention, there are additional lenses.
Absolutely.
And customized lenses that you can choose. We talked a little bit about the ORR lens that they just announced at the DC Summit last month. So even beyond the pillars, yeah.
Sure, yeah. And when you think about customers, and they have different priorities, right? And we know that there are certain things that customers want to focus on at certain times. And so with this profiles feature, it allows us to ask a certain number of preset questions to say, hey, what is important to you at this moment in time? And what that does, it prioritizes a certain set of the well-architected questions to focus on first. So it gives customers that opportunity to start the well-architected review with questions that are most aligned to their goals at that point in time.
Now, at first, you might some folks might be listening to this and like, oh, even more questions for the well-architected review. But you're asking some additional questions to cut down on the total number of questions that you might go through in the future.
Yeah, I think just understanding the business context is important, because if you don't have the business context, it's hard for us to say what's actually going to be prioritized or not. So getting in 4 questions earlier and getting details of that, we can then focus on saying, here's the first 20, 30 things that you need to address, and then just make it a continuous improvement process going forward.
I have to highlight, too, your acronym, the Well-Architected Framework Review, right, which is WAFER.
Yep.
It's amazing. That's a great acronym.
Yeah, it's light and crisp.
Yeah. It's not too heavy.
Nope.
I love it. WAFER. Totally derailing the That's
That's
my job.
Always really deep and insightful from you, AM. I appreciate that.
It's my role here. Thank you for having me.
No, I love it. So can we see, do you have a demo? We can see what this looks like?
Yeah.
In fact, maybe we're always trying to evangelize the well-architected review. So maybe if you can start like, this is what it normally would look like, maybe, and then see this new feature.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you go to the well-architected tool within the console, you'll see that there's a new section here called Profiles.
Actually, let me in case you've never worked with the well-architected, done a framework or a review before, that doesn't, I talked about solutions architect, your account team, and partners. You don't have to have any of that involved because it's, as we see on the screen now, it is in the management console of your AWS account. So you can go and use this well-architected tool yourself. Sorry, but just wanted to set that up.
No, absolutely. Great context. Thank you. So when you go ahead and you create,
it's all right.
1 moment.
15 minutes. This is security. We're at Inforce, and that is there for a reason.
Yeah, that's it's always good to have log out times, right?
Yeah.
Not so good for the live demos, of course.
Not
which
so
is
good
fine.
for that. But hey,
It's okay.
we're getting there.
We're there.
We're there. All right. So, oh,
There you go.
There, now you
Yep.
get to know where to find the tool in the console.
alrighty. So here we are. So back to your original point of how to actually create a well-architected review. So this is where you actually go ahead and define the workload. So we'll get back to this in just a second. But when you actually want to go ahead and create a profile, so you go here and you click Create Profile. And so you want to identify the name as well as the description. The description is super important here. Just so that you can understand a little bit more about the context of what the profile entails. You'll see why this is important later on when you're actually applying the profile to the workload.
And just to clarify, this isn't the application. This is this profile. This is the new feature we're talking about.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly. So
This is the business context.
It's like a level above
Correct.
the application. Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
And so here are some of the questions that I was referring to earlier, right? So you'll see there's 4 questions that we ask, some around your current cloud adoption phase for the organization. So if you want to understand a little bit more about what these actually mean, you can go ahead and click Info, and we give a definition and description about what these options actually entail, so that you can choose wisely and make sure that it's aligned to what you're trying to accomplish.
So it's not even all technical questions, it's also cultural questions too.
And that's the great part about this profiles feature, right? Is that we're, like Samir said, we're collecting that context about what's important to your business.
Yeah, that'll change your decisions, if you're not far enough along on your, cloud adoption plan, it's tough to adopt some of the more advanced features and functionality of some of the AWS services.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times people will start the review and then go into saying, this doesn't apply because we're early into design, or sometimes they'll be like, this is done. This is basics. We've done this. We're more mature. Yeah. So this helps us get that context to say, let's prioritize what's important at the moment given your journey.
Yeah, and I wanted you to bring these up because the technical questions that AM was talking about, they were typically like, how do you know you are right-sizing your VMs? How do you know passwords are being rotated? Those are the technical questions, whereas this is the layer above to kind of set the stage for the questions afterwards.
Alana, we're getting asked, can you zoom in a little bit?
Oh, sure, yeah, absolutely.
Make the font a little bigger.
What was that symbol? Was that the...
Oh,
How's
no.
that?
I was taught this symbol out in London. My crew is from Belgium, and they were telling me to wrap it up, which this is not what that symbol is in the United States. This is wrap it up,
Yes.
which I often see a lot because I talk too much, which I'm doing right now. Hi, Alana. How's it going? Would you like to continue your demo?
I would love to.
So sorry.
All right, so moving on, the second question is really about the business value that those workloads represent in your organization and in your company. I've gone ahead and selected the strategic external facing workloads. Moving along, it also asks around your current architectural and operational lifecycle. So kind of where you are in your development lifecycle.
Yeah, I think that's important because as an essay, we tend to say, it doesn't hurt to go through a well-architected review early on, even before the application's created, maybe during development, and then pre-production and post-production, where I can see, I'd like to see what different things these different options choose going forward, but I could see how valuable that would be.
I mean, one of the things is we actually recommend you start the review early, right? Because it's a conversation starter. A lot of these things you don't think of till you actually do the review, right?
Yeah.
And you want to be like, oh, I didn't think of it. Let me think of it while I'm designing, or while I'm trying to think about how this is going to come along.
Some of us will never think of it.
Yeah, maybe.
Because we don't have the capacity for it, And that's why there's the tool for people like me. Anyway, moving on.
Absolutely. Anyways, so then the last question that we ask is really around, the improvement priorities that you'd like to accomplish as part of your well-architected review. And, because we're at a security conference, we might as well choose security. What do you guys think?
Absolutely.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and select a few of these. And then I'm just going to zoom out for a second here. I can go ahead and save. So what this does is this created my profile. So this is where I come to edit my profile as well as share my profile. And so this shares aspect is really important around how you can actually scale this profile across your organization, right? So it allows you to actually spread that business context to those who need to have it during their well-architected reviews, so that when they go ahead and define their workloads, they have access to this profile.
Yeah, think of like Cloud Center of Excellence teams, right? Like I want to have this like standard business context across all my workloads. You can just define it, share it with everybody, people apply it. And you go
for all development workloads, or maybe for all internal workloads, I can see a number of different types of profiles we could create.
You get some love from chat also for the launch. It's difficult to prioritize, right? That's what chat is saying. Prioritization is key, and you hit with a lot of decisions, a lot of data. This is universal, especially here at a security conference, right? I love to bring up alert fatigue, things like that, right? It's the same when working with what do you prioritize, whether it's vulnerability management or scanning or building a well-architected workload, right?
Absolutely.
I love it.
Absolutely. So when you go ahead and you define your workload, so this process is where you actually identify some of your workload properties. So again, you give your workload a description as well as a name. You give it a review owner so that when you want to go back to the well-architected review, you can see who actually created the review. You identify what environment it's in, as well as the region. So I'm just going to go ahead and select a region here.
And just notice we say like non-AWS regions as well. So it's like, because if you could have a hybrid workload, or you can apply well-architected to an on-prem workload as well. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, there's a couple, optional fields here where you can add in additional, account IDs, or we have an integration with application registry, and then, we have an integration with Trusted Advisor, which is a way to help us, identify some resource level checks. But for now, I'm just going to not do that and go ahead and click next. So here's where the profile comes into play. So this profile is available to me because I created it. This would appear also if it was shared with me. So I mentioned earlier that I can share the profile. If I shared it with Samir, he accepted it, this would appear the same for him. This is also where the description comes into play so that I can understand a little bit more about what this profile is. And then I go ahead and move along. So this exists today. The well-architected framework is automatically selected. If I have custom lenses that I want to apply, I'm able to do that here as well. And then I go ahead and define my workload. So this is really where the prioritization comes in. So you can see that we've added a prioritized section on this main homepage here. So I can see the number of prioritized questions that I have are 49. And then as I'm going through the review, which I'll do in a minute, I can come back here and say, okay, my prioritized risks, my high and medium prioritized risks are different than my overall risks, which helps me identify, okay, these are the risks that I want to focus on first. So when I go ahead and go into the well-architected review, you'll see here on the left-hand side that we have a new section called prioritized. And so this is where you'll see all those 49 questions that we've identified as aligned to how you answered your profile.
Nice.
Real quick, we got a question from chat. Can this be used if you've already completed a well-architected review and you want to check to see if you prioritize correctly?
Great question. So I'm showing you an example of how you apply a profile to a new workload, but there is an ability to add a profile to an existing workload, and that prioritization will just happen once that profile is created.
Great,
Very
awesome.
cool.
It doesn't change any of your answers or your notes or any of that. It just prioritizes, just a list.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and answer a couple of the prioritized questions. So I can see that security 4 was prioritized, gives me an overview of what the question is, as well as the different best practices that make up this question. So I go ahead, I answer which best practices I am currently or not currently following, and I go ahead and move along. So I'm just going to answer a couple of questions here. And just to note, that same info that I was referring to appears here. And then when I go to a non-prioritized questions, I'm just going to do that very quickly so that you can see the difference in the home page here. When I go back to my main dashboard, you can see here that my overall risk count is different than my prioritized risk count.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's
so
great.
that helps me identify, okay, I should focus on these prioritized risks versus my overall risks, and this appears in the improvement plan as well.
I hate to have to do this, but we are about 30 seconds away from
right.
wrapping.
We're getting the
What do I do? Yeah, we gotta wrap it up.
Yeah.
round it up.
Round it off.
Round it off.
That's the phrase. So what should I do if I'm in the audience and I want to get started with this?
Yeah, so the best thing, we are in the management console, so the features available in 20 regions, so you can go in, access those, start a workload,
Build a profile.
go create a profile, share that profile with your organization, and then start applying this, and give
Simple.
us feedback on if those prioritizations seem right, because you want to keep learning and making improvements.
I love it. I love it. Alana, Samir, thank you so much for
Thanks,
joining
guys.
us.
Thank
We'll be
you.
right back with more from AWS On Air live at Reinforce.